Chairman, may I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss economic development activities?
Have a motion, Mr. Crowder, and a second, Ms. Wilson. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, may I make the motion that we come out of executive session having received information regarding economic development?
Second.
Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Waters. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. We're moving on now to item 10B, 2015-011, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more incentive agreements by and among Anderson County, South Carolina, and company known to the county as Project Machine. Mr. Burris-Nelson, you got anything you want to add?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you for this opportunity to present. First, I'd like to apologize that we're bringing this to you title only, but because of the speed at which this project is moving, it's about the only way we could bring it to you and keep track of and keep up with the schedules that these folks have, and I apologize for that. We'll have full documents hopefully in the next 10 days, certainly well into next council meeting agenda packet opportunity. And I apologize for that. Yes, sir, this project is a project of more than 40 years old. This company is more than 40 years old. They have project length. They intend to be under construction about a year. This is an $85,725,000 facility, building, land, and equipment. The creating 216 jobs. Average pay is $20.23 an hour, with an annual payroll of $9.6 million. Over the first 25 years of the project, there's an SSRC of averages about 47% over that first 25 years. It is a 40-year fee agreement. Last year, that property paid a little over $2,500 in property tax, and projected taxes for 2017 are $43,615, and 30-year is $15,460,000. First year community impact, $64 million. 20-year community impact is $343 million. This information comes to council as a recommendation from staff and the advisory board, and we respectfully request you give favorable consideration to this project.
We have a motion.
Moved.
Make a motion.
Mr. Crowder, second by Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 10C, 2015-012, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more incentive agreements by and among Anderson County, South Carolina, and company known to the county as Project Machine, a sponsor, and one or more existing to be formed or acquired subsidiaries or affiliated related entities, to provide for the inclusion of the project in a multi-county business or industrial park, to provide for special service revenue credits and other matters related thereto. We have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Mr. Allen, second, Mr. Waters. Any discussion? You like anything you want to add?
This is just an incentive package for this project, Machine. Thank you, sir.
And all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Now moving on to item number 10D, 2015-013, ordinance to amend the agreement for the development of a joint county industrial and business park, 2010 park, for Anderson and Greenville counties, so as to enlarge the park. Do we have a motion?
Yep.
Motion, Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? Crowder?
What is the purpose of this?
Mr. Crowder?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, if you would.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Will you accept my apology?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this relative to the project we're discussing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I thought so, but when in doubt, ask.
Yes, sir, thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed, like sign, so motion carries unanimously. Nelson, appreciate y'all's hard work and hope we can hammer this home and look forward to closing it out. Thank you very
Yes, sir.
much.
Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
y'all.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 11, 11A, R 2015-017, a resolution supporting fair housing in Anderson County. Put that in form of a motion. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. Wilson. Are there any discussion? And all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Now moving on to 11B, R 2015-019, the resolution recognizes the Community of South Carolina Transport Police for their dedicated service as public servants and other matters related thereto. Ms. Sidney Wilson. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution to recognize and commend the South Carolina Transport Police for their dedicated service as public servants and other matters related thereto. Whereas it is important that all citizens know, understand, and appreciate the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of law enforcement officers. And whereas the men and women of the South Carolina State Transport Police provide a vital public service, enhance the quality of life, ensure public safety as part of their duty and mission, and to protect and serve. And whereas the State Transport Police protect the rights and pursue justice on behalf of all South Carolinians, and whereas the County of Anderson offers its respect, appreciation to the members of the State Transport Police, namely the officers who have provided and assisted in the enforcement of laws governing commercial and private haulers in and around the Anderson Regional Landfill, and whereas Anderson County desires to express its gratitude to the state transport officers who have patrolled the area and into and neighboring the landfill located in the Belton community. The officers have enforced laws relating to litter, haulers not properly transporting waste, that is, failure to cover load, traffic violations, and driving under the influence. And whereas Anderson County and its residents that neighbor the landfill are appreciative of the State Transport Police steadfast enforcement of local, state, and federal laws as it relates to individuals and or commercial drivers safely operating vehicles while transporting waste materials to the Belton landfill, protecting and maintaining the public safety while traveling the area roads, and safeguarding the environment from litter and contamination in the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anderson County Council recognizes the concentrated enforcement of the area surrounding the Anderson Regional Landfill by the State Transport Police. The Council wishes to convey our sincerest respect to the law enforcement officers of the South Carolina Transport Police for their dedicated service in protecting the lives of our citizens and the community's environment. We, the County Council, salute your dedicated public service and thank you for making Anderson County a safer place in which to live and raise our families. This resolution shall take effect and be in force immediately upon enactment, resolved in meeting duly assembled this 7th day of April, 2015. And may I make that in a motion, please, sir?
Motion, Ms. Wilson, have a second. Mr. Cole, any discussion? Hearing none, in favor, show of hands, please. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
point
ma'am.
of order.
Yes, ma'am.
Going back to 11A, the resolution supporting fair housing in Anderson County.
Yes, ma'am.
We didn't, we voted on it, we passed it without reading it into the agenda for the minutes.
It can go in the minutes as it was presented. I'll make that statement, stipulation, but having to read everything word for word. We don't have to read everything. I haven't read all this right here, but it goes in the minutes, you know.
Well, since we do this only once a year,
Yes, ma'am.
I think it was important enough for us to read it into the minutes,
Okay.
so folks can know exactly what it is and what it's about.
Okay. Duly noted. Ms. Kim, if you would, make sure that a copy of that is in the minutes. If anybody wants to look at it, then they can do it. And it should have been anyway. Moving on to item number,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I want to make a clarification. Mr. Crowder's question on an ordinance to amend an agreement for the development of Joint County Industrial Park, that is an entirely different project. That is a project that is going into Greenville County. We're just going to get our 1% on this deal as they do with us, we're doing for them. So I just wanted to make sure that that was corrected for the record.
Okay. Got that? Appreciate that clarification. Okay. And we've been moving on to item number D, R 2015-021, a resolution identifying a project that satisfies the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 44 of the South Carolina Code, so as to allow investment expenditures incurred by the company known county as Project Machine. Room tax.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
did we skip,
Sorry, I had it marked out. I'm sorry. Going back. R 2015-020, a resolution supporting state efforts to fund solutions to the funding needs for state maintained and operated roads. Ms. Cindy Wilson, Ms. Francis Crowder. I'm sorry.
no,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas Anderson County, along with the vast majority of citizens, acknowledges that South Carolina's infrastructure is in desperate need of repair and funding resources, and whereas it is widely understood that the state has failed to sufficiently address and fund road and bridge projects over the years, and whereas South Carolina Department of Transportation would benefit from having an arm's length external audit for the purpose of prioritizing spending and deploying of staff, and whereas only 10% of the non-federal aid eligible secondary roads assigned for transfer are in good condition, while 90% are in fair or poor condition, and whereas the Department of Transportation is in a much better position to assess the needs and to perform the necessary maintenance on these roads in the state system, and whereas House Bill 3579 claims that the dumping of state roads into counties is optional and comes with adequate funding, but the option is left to the County Transportation Committee and not the County Council, and the proposed funding is insufficient to repair and maintain the nearly 19,000 miles of roads. And whereas devolving this authority onto an appointed body renders this legislation constitutional suspect, and whereas if the CTC does not refuse the roads when the county is forced to accept the financial responsibility, maintenance, and liability of the roads, and whereas the bill places too much power with the CTC, which is not liable or accountable to the taxpayers if the funding is insufficient, or if the CTC elects to spend the money on other projects such as state-owned roads, and whereas insufficient funding would result in a potential local tax increase on county citizens to pay for maintenance and repair on the deteriorating roads. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Anderson County Council that Anderson County Council is opposed to any legislative efforts to transfer state-owned roads to local governments, and requests that all members of the South Carolina General Assembly refuse further consideration of any proposed legislation. All orders and resolutions in conflict herewith are, to the extent of such conflict only, repealed and rescinded. Should any part or portion of this resolution be deemed unconstitutional or otherwise unenforceable by any court of competent jurisdiction, such funding shall not affect the remainder thereof, all of which is hereby deemed separable. This resolution shall take effect and be in force immediately upon enactment. And may I put that in the form of a motion?
Have a motion, Ms. Wilson. Have a second. Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? I'd just like to say, I think the CTC does an outstanding job,
I do.
county and everything, but I do think it's wrong mechanism for what this bill's intended them, take it out of our hands and us not have no control over. It would not be a very good thing, I don't think.
You know, one of the flies in the ointment is that because of the way the bill's set up right now, the CTC would have to have new people nominated or appointed to the position, and there's no time between when that happens and the transfer of the roads. It's kind of an untenable situation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Now, moving on to item number D, R 2015-021, a resolution identifying projects to satisfy the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 44 of the South Carolina Code, so as to allow investment expenditures incurred by a company known to the county as Project Machine. Burris Nelson. Burris, still.
Not here.
Okay. We have any, have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion Mr. Crowder and second by Ms. Wilson. Do we have any discussion now? All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 12, report from the Planning and Public Works meeting of March 2015. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning and Public Works Committee, composed of Councilmen Waters, Cole, and Wilson, met on March 19th. We reviewed Chapter 1 of the Anderson County Comprehensive Plan in continuation of the county's efforts to update this vital document to meet state legal requirements and to address an increasing population and some shifting of demographics in light of land use patterns while retaining property rights and incorporating community input. Population growth in the Powdersville area grew by an astonishing 34.3%, with overall county growth averaging approximately 10% per year. Population growth has a direct impact on the county's roads, public facilities, and provision of public services such as law enforcement, fire protection, and emergency services. Anderson County is ranked 11th in the state for tourism. Other information gleaned from the census information of interest was that we have an aging population and have attracted attention nationally as a popular retirement destination. Education attainment has increased and dropout rates have decreased. Planning for infrastructure needs and public services relate to this chapter. Our committee accepted this chapter and it will move forward to incorporation in the 5-year update. The review and approval of the road reclassification was sent forward to tonight's agenda for second reading approval. The Highway 81 Overlay Initiative is proceeding with numerous meetings and much public discussion with landowners, neighbors, and our local real estate professionals. Our planning staff has been absolutely wonderful. They've been prompt in providing zoning information, infrastructure availability, everything from A to Z as requested by the attendees, including incredible visual aids and definitions that have been very helpful. The input from the community has been excellent. There were 56 of 60 participants who sent in the surveys. There is every expectation that there will be an overlay product that will increase the desirability for businesses and neighborhoods to locate along this vital Highway 81 corridor while improving appearances, safety, and compatibility. More meetings will be conducted soon. And if Mr. Foreman is still here, would you like to add anything, Mr. Foreman? These meetings have been very well attended. Thank you so much for all y'all do.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I'm glad to hear the citizens are attending these meetings and having input. Moving on to item number 13, report from the Finance Committee. Mr. Crowder.
Thank you, Chairman. Item A, Finance Committee asked Honorable Jason Phillips to bring some information that you will find in this, hunt for the folder, and it was received for information only. And the purpose of requesting the information, when you start a budget process, which we are about to start, the first thing you always ask is, how much revenue have I available to spend? Because you can't prepare a budget without knowing that. So basically, in summary, Mr. Phillips said that our collection rate was well. He thought we were doing as good as he anticipated, that our collection rate was actually more like 96 or 97%, whereas Ms. Davis, if you will recall, for the last 2 years, has been forecasting only a collection rate of 95%. So if you will review that information. Item number B is assessment. You know, our concern is more property being built that can become taxable. So we asked Mr. Mike Freeman to come over and give us some information, which you will find actually labeled as 13B in your pamphlet. And his comment was that they were putting additional property on the books for housing, and he felt that trend was going to continue for a while. But he did also make the statement in closing that we still have a significant number of houses on the market in Anderson County to sell. So, in summary of A and B, it looks like our revenue stream is going to be equal to or greater than last year when we begin the budgetary process, and we could have as much as $900,000 worth of additional money. Keep in mind, I said as much as. Okay. Number C, we were concerned about what is happening to the ATAX revenue history. So we asked Ms. Davis to give us an update on the state and local ATAX revenue, because we're fixing to end the season through budgetary processes of allocating that money. And secondly, we have a ATAX committee that meets to accept recommendations for projects. And of course, they need to know the amount of money that they can potentially allocate. So you will find that also in this packet labeled 13C, okay? Background information. Now we get to the active things that needed to have positive votes. There was a request from the administrator for council to approve the application from ARC for a Sandy Springs Water Company CDBG grant. It requires no local match. Finance Committee did recommend that for finance for council's consideration, Chairman.
Do we have a motion? I mean, we have a motion and a second. Don't need a second coming to finance committee. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carried. Ma'am?
I don't even know what the motion is. I couldn't understand it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You repeat that motion, Mr. Crowder.
Well, it's the Sandy Springs, you know where that's
Passed
located
through
up the
Sandy
creek.
Springs government.
They want to increase their water.
We got it, Mr. Crowder. I appreciate it. I got it.
Thank you.
You understand that, Mr. Floyd? Okay.
My English
Yeah.
sometimes becomes
All right.
bad.
All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Mr. Crowder.
All right. Number E is the town of Iva has requested that 2 vehicles that are in our surplus be transferred to the town of Iva for their use. The Finance Committee heard that request, and we recommend it to council for their consideration.
Have a motion coming from Finance Committee. Doesn't need a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on.
All right, so let me get now two transfers. All right, if you will turn in your agenda packet, you will see an outline of one page of requested transfers. I'll be glad to read them, but I think you can read them for yourselves. Basically, you've already read them. The Finance Committee does recommend all of these, but we did have one question about one of them. So we recommended all of them to Finance Committee, to a county council, other than the following, which was actually the travel to allow people to go to a CLEA for certification. And I think they took 5 people for that process. Okay, and Ms. Wilson will tell you about that. Ms.
I think she said she got the information. Y'all asked for some additional information. I believe they and the staff supplied that. So
Sure.
And she's got it. So I
Okay,
think it's coming from the Finance Committee.
it's a recommendation for the Finance Committee.
So if everybody's had time to look over this, we'll move on with this. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Those like signs, so the motion carries unanimously. And moving on to item G, executive session contract matters. Do we need to do that?
I think we did not have to do that, did we, Mr.? No, we did not. We made no decisions about
Okay.
anything. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I appreciate the report. Moving on to item number 14, various boards and commissions. Mr. Waters, you have any?
I do. Appointments?
Yes, sir.
No, I have none.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Allen?
Have none at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd?
I don't have any at this time.
Cole?
I guess, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have one, Mr. Michael Gilreath, Airport Committee. He's a local owner. License.
Pilot. Have a motion, a second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? Put Mr. Gilreath on the airport. Forward. See, Mr. Cole.
The mic a little better.
Your battery's dead. I'm sorry. His battery's dead.
No, there you go.
He got it. Michael Cole he made the motion for Michael Cole, nominate him. Michael Gilreath, Mr. Cole, Michael Gilreath to be on the airport commission. And Ms. Wilson seconded. Now, are there any discussion? Hearing all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries next. Anything else, Mr. Cole?
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Cole, is there something in here? Wait a minute, I've got it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have none.
Ms. Wilson? District 5 has none. Moving on, requests from council members. Ms. Wilson? Thank you. Mr. Crowder?
Mr. Chairman, I have at least one and possibly two. The first one is Anderson University so that they can continue the Thurman Institute co-sponsors of the Dr. Bill Hunter Lecture Series at Anderson University. I'd like to recommend $250 from my district recreation account.
Have a motion, Mr. Crowder, have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? And then all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like some excuse.
May I ask Mr. Waters? Mr. Waters, what was the one? I got so much stuff on the one you were going to bring forward tonight.
Oh, it was, I think I had the information laid on the desk. This for one of the sporting events up in District 6. So I just wanted that for information, and I'll bring that in form of a motion.
Okay,
It just
thank you.
Yeah. It'll be out of District 6's.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
can't-
Porter. You good, Mr. Crowder?
I have no more.
Thank you. Mr. Cole?
Nothing this time.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd?
I don't have any.
Mr. Allen?
I think I've got enough money to do this. I'd also like to do $250 to the Thurman Institute for the Hunter Lecture Series. I'll put that in form of a motion.
Have a motion, Mr. Allen, any second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Crowder, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like signs, motion carries next. Mr. Waters?
All right, if no one has a problem with this, this is a application that came in for the District 6 Recreation Fund today, and it's for taking care of one of the soccer fields up there in Hurricane Springs Park, and it's for $3,000 out of the District 6 Recreation Fund, and I bring that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Waters, and second, Mr. Crowder. Any discussion?
Do we have something in, don't we supposed to get something about that?
Yes, ma'am. Normally, it's in the book, but we.
Didn't you give it, did you put it at our desk?
Yeah.
Or not?
I think. Yeah, there was supposed to have been a copy.
Where's this money going to, Mr. Waters?
It's going to the county park up there. They'll be taking care of the fields up there for.
But, I mean, they got a group up there doing,
They do.
getting the money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here
I don't have anything.
you go. Would you,
Give Ms. Floyd one, and she didn't put
There you
it at
go.
her desk then.
We're supposed to have those things. You all wouldn't let me do that. You wouldn't let me do it at a time. And I don't,
if you'd like, we can wait. It's not a problem.
well,
Okay.
being the fact that I had to wait, I would appreciate it if everybody followed the same rules.
I apologize. I didn't remember that one. I don't know that I made you wait, but I'm good with that.
No, you didn't. but I was told I had to wait because
Okay.
I didn't have the proper information.
I apologize, and I retract my motion, and we'll put it on next.
Hey.
Thank you.
Show everybody's got a copy of it. It'll be in our next thing.
Okay.
Unbelievable. We'll be moving on. District 5, Mr. Burns. What was, you remember off putting you on the spot, you remember off I asked you to get a budget for the farmer's market. Do you remember what that was off the? Okay. I'm going to make a motion, if y'all would bear with me, and this will be coming back up for a vote next council meeting, but I would like to hear y'all think. I'm going to take $6,000 out of District 5's recreation thing, but I don't think it should have to come out of District 5's or District 1's. We need to find this money somewhere in the budget and come back and get this thing to operate. We need to support the farmer's market for advertisement and do things. We each supposed to have a member on that board and be working and doing that. And the reason I don't want to wait next council meeting, the farmers market should be advertising. They should have been advertising, getting this thing out. It's the market's going to be opening fairly soon here. So I'm going to make a motion for District 5 to take $6,000 out of District 5's account, recreation account, where they can get started. But I would like to get it refunded back at the proper time if we can find the money, and it'll be voted
I'll
on.
second that. And
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
very much for doing
Appreciate
that.
it.
District 7's money goes
I un-
very early.
I understand, and it shouldn't be, like I said, this is a thing for everybody. It should be, we should find money in the budget that's coming up here, Mr. Chairman, of the Finance Committee, to try to let more do it. So, any more discussion?
I'll
Has it
make
already
sure
been
it's on the
seconded?
agenda.
Yeah, Ms. Wilson seconded it. But got anything to say about it? Okay. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank y'all very much. We're moving on now to the administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, we were tasked by County Council to find a location for the Election and Registrations Board.
Excuse me, Mr. Burns, if you would, before you go on that, would you make sure the staff gets this money
Yes, sir.
and works with the Farmers Market Board,
Yes, sir.
get started on this pronto?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Davis, you got that? Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Now,
That's it,
would you, Ms. Davis, make sure that this item's also on the Finance Committee's next
Agenda.
agenda?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Council tasked us with finding a location for the Registration and Elections Board. I believe that we looked at approximately 15 buildings. Some were too small, some would require a massive amount of money for upfitting. We narrowed it down to the old Bank of America building on Main Street, and that building will suit the needs of the Registration and Election Commission. We asked them, we have toured them, that building with them. The rent for that building would be $3,100 a month, and they will lease it to the county for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever is necessary.
We need to act on that
Yes,
tonight. You asking us to act on this tonight?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we authorize the administrator and chairman of county council to execute whatever documents are required to provide rental space to registration and elections.
I'll second.
Second.
Have a motion, Mr. Crowder, and a second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? I'll do. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Mr. Burns,
Yes, ma'am.
that's not on the agenda, is it?
No, ma'am, it was in the administrator's report.
I don't see it in the administrator's report. Clarence Sullivan, Human
Basically, what it was in the Finance Committee for executive session,
Uh-huh.
and then I addressed it here in this report.
But I don't see it in the report. Was there another copy of it?
No, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, our ordinance states that if we discuss something, we have to amend the agenda, and it has to be on the agenda for us to amend it. I mean, for us to discuss it.
I was just bringing it up for information. If you want to wait till the next council meeting to formally, that's fine too.
Yeah. If
Right,
we're
turn your
gonna-
mic on, Ms. Florida. People can't hear you if you want to.
if we're going to follow our own ordinances, I think that we need to bring that back, to the next meeting, or we need to revise the agenda to put it on there. But it is definitely not on the agenda.
We can wait till next meeting. That'll be absolutely fine.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion, and Ms. Ms. Davis, would you make sure it's on the Finance Committee's agenda next Friday?
And I think it was on.
About rental of the building.
It was. It was on the Finance Committee's agenda, I think.
Yeah.
Been discussed.
This way we can report it out.
As executive session contractual matters, Mr. Burns just chose not to go into executive session and bring it up and vote in full session.
Yeah.
So it is on the Finance Committee agenda and on the council.
Yeah.
Well, we need to go back then in executive session and, discuss this matter. We'll come out. We have a motion going to executive
I
session.
make a motion, we go
Second.
into executive session to discuss contractual matters.
Mr. Crowder and second, Mr. Cole. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Cole, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposed.
Already took care of that. Little guys. Craig. Well, you certainly are.
Okay, we get, finish up. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
Mr.
Mr. Crowder, Ms. Wilson, she got a
Make the
microphone.
motion that we come out of executive session having received contractual information.
We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. All in favor to come out of executive session? So the motion carries unanimously. Does anyone have a motion? Coming out of executive session after receiving information?
Mr. Chairman, may I make the motion that we direct our administrator and you, our chairman, to finalize the rental arrangements for registration and election?
And everyone, we have do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? I'd like to say, once this is done, every council member will be getting a copy of the agreement for things for discussion. Anything else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like sign. So the motion carries unanimously. Be moving on now to item number 17, citizens' comments.
No one signed up.
Mr. Chairman, well, one person was signed up, Ms. Fant, but she has left, so no one else is signed up.
Thank you.
You want me to go look for her?
Ms. Wilson. Council, we're moving on to 18 remarks from council members. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all that made this meeting possible. It's so exciting to have everything from recognizing our young students and the need for the farmers market and having two announcements really of wonderful economic development projects, and that's a testimony to the good people of this county, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Crowder.
I have none, Chairman.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Cole.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Ms. Floyd.
I don't have much to say
Ms.
tonight.
Floyd, I'm
except-
sorry.
I don't have much to say tonight, except that I was a little disappointed in the fact that we were not able to discuss and to finalize this as well as we could have, the man who had the problem at the airport. We must remember that our jobs are to help the citizens of Anderson County. We spend a lot of time on doing things that we cannot change along the state lines. You know, we're eager to jump into doing that, I guess, as we should, but our first priority should be the people of Anderson County and the things that they have to go through. I want to thank Mr. Allen and Mr. Leon, what's your last name? Is it Harmon? And Mr. Harmon for help this afternoon. I'm sure they know what I'm talking about. That's all I have, and I thank you.
Mr. Allen.
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you. Mr.
I
Waters.
don't have anything.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone tonight. I think all the citizens. It has been a good meeting, especially on the economic development front, and I hope know if this council's record speaks volumes about wanting to help the citizens. If we contact them within reason, we'll do what we can do. Always have and always will. Thank you. Meeting will be adjourned.